Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Just in Time Cafe. I'm Tracy Aurora, co-founder of the Just in Time Cafe with Elizabeth Swan. I'm going to be your host today. And if you have never been to the cafe before, you are in for a treat because we have the Denver Peak Academy here. Yay! Woohoo! Okay, I love this group. And they are going to talk about they're going to cover in their webinar, our webinar today, building a strategic plan for lean transformation. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about the Denver Peak Academy, and then I'm going to have them introduce themselves as well. So the Denver Peak Academy is a nationally recognized continuous improvement arm for the city and county of Denver. They coach, they train, they do project facilitation. The Peak team inspires and empowers city staff at all levels to continuously improve service delivery for their community. And the Denver Peak Academy has been around for 10 years. They have helped staff save over 50 million in hard and soft dollar savings, and they've also saved 8.8 million in savings to the customer annually. Well, that's pretty good. All right, I'm going to have each of you go ahead and introduce yourselves. Make sure you are off mute. Who wants to go first?
I can go.
All right.
Hey, everybody. I'm Drew Brown. I am a supervisor here on the Peak team, and I've been with this team for 6 years now. It's been a great 6 years. And my favorite part about this job is when I see somebody tell me about, an issue that's been going on for 20 years, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. And then we help them and they get it done. And then there's the sigh of relief and breath of fresh air they have when it gets fixed. So that's my favorite part.
Awesome. Since there's so many of you, I'll just go ahead and call you if that is okay. I see AJ next.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is AJ Kennedy. I'm a continuous improvement specialist with the Denver Peak Academy. I've been on the team for about 8.5 months. And my favorite part of the job is learning about all the important work that everyone in the city brings to the table and how we make the city work as one strong forward pushing machine. I also really appreciate the fact that I am a new Denver resident, so it impacts me differently. It hits differently. So I'm proud to be serving the city where I now live.
Very nice, AJ. Thank you. Okay, Aisha. I want to say it different because when I say your name, is that right? I'm sorry. I've asked you that like 3 times.
That is correct. But you can
Okay,
call me Isha. It's fine.
Isha. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Well, it's the afternoon now. So good afternoon. My name is Aisha Williams. I'm with Denver Peak Academy. I am the Peak Academy Management Analyst. I do the coordinating for the Black Belt and the Green Belt for the team. I've been with Peak Academy for about 10 months now. The favorite part of my favorite part of this job is meeting new people and sparking that ignite up under someone. A lot of people, especially people that's new to the city, have no idea about our program, and just watching some of the things that a lot of our Black belts and green belts have done throughout the city just by coming to our class and getting the knowledge and we're pouring into them is most definitely the best part about my job.
I love it. Thank you. All right, Kaylee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylee Voca. I'm a continuous improvement specialist for the Denver Peak Academy. I've been with the team since March, so about 6 months now. My favorite part about the job, I would say, is probably the relationship building aspect of it, and just how powerful relationship building can be in terms of breaking down silos and having effective continuous improvement. So just like having that in my everyday has been really great, and I really love it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Kaylee. Okay, Katie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie McCune. I am a continuous improvement senior on the team, and I have been with this group for 3.5 years now, and by far the best job I've ever had. And my favorite part of the job is really the people and getting to work with all different sorts of people, all different roles in their organizations, and just seeing kind of the special sauce that each of them brings to making our city run. and helping them get through some of their challenges to make it even better. So thanks for having us.
Thank you, Katie. And Nate, you made it! Woohoo! Now I'm going to spring a little assignment on you. Your name, your position, how long you've been with DPA, your favorite part of your job or process improvement.
Yeah, definitely. Hello, everybody. I'm Nate Bradley. Go by he, him, his pronouns. Been on the Peak team for 4 years now, actually 4 years ago, like 2 weeks ago. And my favorite part of the job is getting a chance to workshop with different folks, meet people from all over the city and county of Denver. Actually just wrapped up a workshop with the Denver DA's office, looking at diversion. So just love workshopping.
Nice. Thank you, Nate. And last but not least, Megan.
Hello, Megan Williams, Director of Denver Peak Academy. I've been with the team for a little over 3 years, and literally next week will be 1 year in the director job. So excited about that. And my favorite part of the job, it's really hard to pick just one because I really like genuinely, this is dream job situation. You're going to get to meet this team today. They are the best the human race has to offer. And I feel the same way about the people that come through class. I mean, I think my favorite part is when people come through class, they are feeling kind of down and they're feeling like, this is a lot of bureaucracy. This is a lot of things that are going on. And then they come through class and they get the energy from other people, they get the energy from the team, and they get a whole new set of tools to really like transform the way they work. And they walk out of that room with a completely different mindset and like feeling lighter. Like you can just see it when they walk. And that's my favorite part.
I love that too. Very nice. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move into some of the work that they've done, but just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and enter them in the chat window. I'm going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions as they go through and they share what they've done, go ahead and put them in the chat and we will answer them. There's a question and answer area, but we prefer to use the chat if possible. And it looks like it's working. So one webinar wasn't working for some reason. And the session is going to be available for free on the Just in Time Cafe website going forward. And we generally have that posted by Monday of the following week. So we've had over 100 people register for this webinar. Right now we've got about 42 people online. So thank you so much for joining. And a lot of you are already putting where you're from, so that just helps us get an idea of where people are coming from. So we've got Alyssa from Olympia, Washington, and Diana from Carlsbad, right up the street from me. Bonnie from Regina, is that Saskatchewan, Canada. And did I say that Regina or Regina? I know, it's tomato. Jefferson City, Missouri. We've got obviously people from Denver. We have Kelly from Tokyo calling in. I don't know what time it is over there, but I'm going to guess it's not, it's coffee time. Hello, Robinson. Thank you for joining. And we've got the Missouri Department of Conservation. Audrey is here. Sam from Vancouver. Todd from Lompoc. Robinson from San Francisco. A lot of people on the West Coast, which is interesting. Ryan from Seattle, thanks for joining. Marcia from Des Moines. We've got Kate from Port St. Lucie, Florida, and she's looking to do some of the similar work she told me. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So thank you for joining. Just a couple things so that we can move to this. Just want to let you know about our next webinar coming up is going to be September 15th from 11 to 12. It's on heat maps, if any of you have heard of that. Olga is going to be our guest webinar presenter. She's in HR operations at Snowflake. And ultimately, she's really focused on developing a roadmap and how to keep that big picture in mind when you're spending some efforts and you don't want to go down a rat hole. And she works with heat maps to help identify where the most efficient solutions can be and elevating and prioritizing conversations, which I think is really interesting. And so it's a great visual tool. Come join us if you want to learn more about heat maps. And also, I'll just share that our latest podcast is out with Jamie Parker. I had the pleasure of getting to know Jamie Parker at a leadership retreat in Baja with Katie Anderson a few months ago, and I asked her to come on to our webinar, our podcast. She's the owner of Process Plus Results consulting firm, and I think her gift is she used to be a command and control leader, and she says she's a recovering command and control leader, and she works really hard to overcome these tendencies and wants to help others address those same tendencies if you have them. So if you want to join our webinar, you are welcome to do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty of what Denver Peak Academy has done. And well, first I want to just see if you can tell us a little bit more. I mean, I kind of explained who and what Denver Peak Academy is and what they do, but can you expand on that just a little bit more, AJ?
Absolutely. So Denver Peak Academy is a program that was created by Mayor Michael Hancock in 2011. We're actually in the process of we are actually in the middle of celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So we've been around for a little while. So Tracy kind of generalized what we do, but we are a process improvement group filled with 8 lovely individuals, plus an intern we hired this year. So 9 of us currently. We provide several services for the city. And the goal is to give taxpayers an investment on their return, right? So we want to increase value for internal employees as well as our customers. So that's what we do. We do that through providing training. So as Aisha mentioned in her introduction, Green Belt, Black Belt training, we provide Green Belt, which is our introductory training to process improvement. So we just teach several tools there. It's a 4-hour training. And then we also do a Black Belt training, which is a 3.5-day training that really gets in depth into all of our tools and strategies of how you can approach continuous improvement in your own agency. We also do Green Belt for Leaders, which is a leadership training that helps leaders focus on not implementing changes on your staff, but better helping them to support them and empower them to do innovations, and you just be there as a support system. So we offer Green Belt and Black Belt internally to city and county of Denver staff, but also to external folks who are working for outside government entities. So if any of you are interested, you can visit our website to sign up for training. So we also do process improvement services for internal city agencies and departments. We partner with them to help them increase their productivity, make them more efficient, help them save money, whether that's to the customer or to themselves by saving time. And we do that through tackling workshops and rapid improvement events to really help them put a metric front and center and help them achieve their goals that way. We also do strategic planning. I know you're like, didn't Tracy help you guys do that? But we also
only
help
8 of you? Only 8 of you, and you're doing all this?
Yeah, exactly. So we also do strategic planning by helping city agencies develop their own goals, objectives, missions, and visions. Because the city's ever changing, we're constantly getting new groups of people coming together, and helping them build a strategic plan will only feed down to improving their processes. And then we also do change management efforts. With any change, you need to learn how to manage that change. So we partner with agencies before they're getting ready to make a change, just to help them better navigate that change, build that trust with your team, make sure you have everyone on board, and helping teams build relationships to make sure everyone feels comfortable making those changes. In total, so far, we've saved the City over $51 million and counting. So we are in action all day, every day. Like you said, there's 8 of us, but through our trainings, we are very intentional in teaching people the tool so that they can go back to their agencies and be those change champions that their agencies can go back to. We're always here as a backbone for the city, but we help everyone that we can.
Dang, girl. That's amazing. And really, thank you for joining, everyone. That's all we have time for today. Just kidding. No, that was amazing, AJ. I didn't realize $51 million. That is amazing. All right. Thank you for sharing. That was super helpful. And you guys are doing a lot of good work, and it's very impressive. Okay, let's move into kind of the story of how this all happened. So Megan and I have known each other for a while, but her and I kind of interacted early. I'd say at the end of last year. And so Megan, why don't you tell us a little bit about the problem you were sort of either you were looking to get help with, or some of the pain you were experiencing that you felt like you needed to do some of this work.
Yeah, well, I think, Peak has been around for 10 years now. And so it was really this like shift in the way that we needed to be thinking about ourselves. We have always put our priority as thinking about whatever the city agency is that we're working for. And so like, what do they need? What are their data points? What are we trying to move for them? Like who's doing what? Are there action items getting done? Right. So we're so focused, because I would say like training is about 30% of what we do. And then project work is probably more like 70% of what we do. And so we were finding ourselves sort of feeling like, okay, we're doing these things. Do we feel like we're doing them well? Is there a strategy for why we are picking certain projects? And so it just felt like we needed to focus internally the same way, give the same care and attention to ourselves that we give to the other agencies. And so, so grateful that we found Tracy, because that was, I think, I'll just be really honest. We don't get a lot of great consultant work in the city. Well, like there's some that we have to clean up. And so we like are never, our first thought is not always consultants. And so when we met Tracy, I feel like it was our first conversation that I had with Tracy about like, I just felt like I was spinning, right? I felt like it's not like I came and was like, give me a strategic plan. I was like, I don't know, like, it feels like this is happening and this is happening and this is where we're struggling and we're doing really good over here. And you're like, I think it sounds like you need a strategic plan, but you didn't say it in a like condescending way. You said it in this way that like really was like clicked with me. And I felt like, yes, this is where we need to be going as a team. And so just have been so appreciative, I think, of the help that you gave us in the way that you made sure every voice was heard on the team, and that the way that you really brought us together around something that we've never done before for ourselves. And it's to be a facilitator and to try to facilitate yourselves is very hard. Like our team meetings are a nightmare. So like we really, really, really needed somebody who was gonna like bring us together and like corral the craziness. So
Oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you so much. I did not pay her to say that.
no,
And
you did
so
not.
I appreciate that. And, in my recollection too, it was sort of like we just talked and you were kind of talking about your challenges. And I think originally you had even said, I think we need training or we were kind of going down that path. And then you were
Yeah.
like, well, here's some of these big things I'm dealing with and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, and then the call in and we're like, I think you need some sort of strategic, planning like around, and I didn't really kind of label it like that. I was kind of
Yeah.
really talking about like pieces of goals and metrics and stuff like that. So anyway, yes. And so it ended up, and then Megan goes, you want to work with you, but we don't have a lot of money.
That's definitely, they don't give us
Yeah, like this
we don't
much
get any
budget.
money.
Yeah.
We're supposed to
This-
save all the money and they don't give us any.
This many aspirations, this much budget. So guess what? We got creative. So originally I was going to fly out there, right? We talked about me flying out there and we're going to get the team together, going to be in a room and, flying back and forth for all this work. And then she's like, well, we've got this much. I go, okay, let's talk about virtual support. Right? I mean, because people deal with that, I mean, government doesn't have tons of money to spend on stuff. So I really wanted to help you guys. I really connected with Megan. I couldn't wait to meet the team. And I was like, and I have this much time too. So I'm like, but we're going to make this work. So, I'm going to share just briefly what we put together as a plan for all of you, so because you're hearing a lot of swirling right now. And so this is kind of what ended up coming out in terms of concreteness. So I'm just going to share this. Let me know. Can you share that? Can you see this? Yes,
Yes.
good. Okay. So this is basically, we're going to share this in a little bit. So let me minimize that. So you can see just the Word document now. Is that right?
The Excel. Yep.
Thank you. Oh yeah, Excel. See, I need help too.
I was just worried
okay.
if you thought you were talking about a Word document and you're not.
Okay, so basically, here's kind of what we did: is we basically created 8 virtual sessions that were 2 hours each. And we said, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're going to work with me on these two-hour sessions, and this is how it was organized. And then the team, Denver Peak Academy, I would kind of do a teach piece, if you will, and then help them get started on how to build whatever that item was. And then they were tasked with meeting as a group later that week or the following week to complete it. So it was sort of coaching, teaching/coaching. And now you guys go do it. And then we're going to check in next week and see how it went. And if you guys struggled. And so does anybody want to speak to how they think that went? Megan, you can go first if you want, because I know you always got something to say, and I love it.
Well, and I personally, this really worked for our team because first of all, this was a lot of brain work, right? It is using every piece of your brain. It's like you have to be super engaged. And so I honestly can't even now imagine doing it the opposite way of like trying to do it all in one day. Like to me, that feels so crazy because we worked our brains so hard when we were with you for these couple of hours. And then it was kind of nice to have that rumination time in between when we talked to you and then when we got together as a team. And so, yeah, I think it was super incredible. I think we got so much out of it. And to your point with the teach piece, right? AJ mentioned like we do help other agencies with this. And so like to watch the way that you did it, it was like a masterclass as well as, getting a strategic plan out of it. So it was very cool. I can't speak highly enough about it, honestly. I just thought we really got to a great product that really helps us key in on what do we need to be focusing on to make sure that we are moving the city as well as these projects.
Anybody else have any comments about this, how this worked? Good, bad, or ugly?
I have a comment towards it, Tracy.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to say I love how you brought us in, and we had a lot of new people on the team, and so that was kind of challenging for us because a lot of us didn't have a lot of input. But I love the way you made us feel like every one of our opinions matter. The way we brainstormed, the way you took your time with us within a 2-hour time frame you had with us was so special. At least to my purpose, I believe that it was so special because I felt like that the input that I did give, it helped the team build and create the actual roadmap that we did. And then also some of the things that you taught us and the tools that you use, actually taking that back with me and using it in my green belt, not knowing just the mural, not knowing that even existed out there in the rural. So it gave me a different way to do a virtual training, because sometimes you can't bring that energy or that, like, it's just like, oh, we're just reading or we're just going through just materials. But I think with stepping that up and giving us those extra tools, I appreciated it a whole lot, because me and AJ kind of did some things within Greenbelt, but it had a lot to do with what we learned from the materials and the tools that you taught us in class. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. And Aisha.
Just call me Isha, Tracy.
I love you. No. And, I really appreciate it, because you were kind of, when things weren't feeling right, you were like, okay, let's stop for a minute. Let's pause. And I think there's a lot of different people who process things different on teams, right? And so really making sure people feel included and heard is important. Even this morning when we were prepping for this webinar, right? I mean, like, we all have different ways of prepping, and it was sort of like, well, that was a little uncomfortable, or that works great for me, or whatever. And so I think that's important. I'm just going to share, because I want to move on to the meat and potatoes of this, and we're already like freaking halfway done. So this is just kind of showing session 1 is the kickoff and talks about why we want to do this work. We talk about, Denver Peak Academy already had a vision and a mission and values. And so we weren't going to necessarily really redo those. As a matter of fact, you guys did revisit the mission and the vision, but you really stuck really strongly to those values. I remember having conversations about, I'm like, I think it's too many. You're like, no, we're good. And they were good. They really were good. And so again, I asked questions and you guys were really committed. And I was like, good for you. You know what? Then leave it. If you guys feel very strongly, then you should leave it. And then we talked about goals, metrics. We did SWOTs on each goal, right? So every SWOT, some people do SWOTs for the overall company, but we did a SWOT per goal because we really want to know strengths and weaknesses for each goal. And then that took a while. That took a couple weeks. And then we developed a roadmap based on goals, tactics, and what we wanted to apply for strengths and weaknesses, which you guys are going to see in just a minute. And we put together the roadmap. You guys were really good at staying focused too. Some of the challenges I often see with people, they're trying to put too much into it. And that could be a challenge. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so the other thing is you guys have never used Mural, right? So we ended up using Mural to build out the strategic goal. So I'm going to go ahead and share that now. Are you guys okay with that? And you guys, and so what we're going to do, I'm not going to talk a lot about Mural, just a little. It looks a little busy at first because you guys are now looking at everything's been done. So it looks like somebody threw up on the wall, but we're going to walk through the different steps so you guys can kind of see it. Okay, so Mural is basically a whiteboard. I'm going to expand this a little bit more. And I'll just note that, we have this outline that we used on the right to help us organize our thoughts. So we did a little exercise to welcome them to Mural. We showed them some help stuff. We did an obstacle course in Mural just to get familiar with the tools. So we made it fun. And then they really built, this is the rest of the work that they've done. And so we're going to just kind of step through some of this. And you've got like three or 4 minutes for each one. So let's see. So who wants to go first? We're going to talk about mission and vision first.
Okay, Tracy, I'm going to go ahead and take the mission and vision statement. We started with our mission and vision. It's been the same mission and vision for the last 10 years. So it reads, Peak Academy trains and coaches employees at all levels to improve the way government works. Through innovation, employees do more with less and enhance the Denver city experience, which is great. But we were trying to look for something that kind of works well with the current team that we have right now and what's going on in the city and some of the things that we're looking to change and enhance within our training within the city. So you challenged us with 3 questions. One of them was, what do we do? How do we do it, and for who we do it for? So that kind of took us to another level of brainstorming, like, okay, well, let's look at who are we doing this for? We come here every day, we do our training. Who are we doing this for? So we came up with, through coaching, training, and project facilitation, Peak Academy inspires and empowers city and county of Denver staffs at all levels to continuously improve service delivered to for our community. That meant a lot to us because when we teach in Black Belt, we talk about this building this community amongst the people in Black Belt when we get everyone together. So incorporating that in our mission. And also we didn't speak a lot about our project work. A lot of people didn't know that we did a lot of project work. So now if you go on to look at what our mission is, you know that you can contact us, as Megan was speaking about that we were not getting called on for, they were doing outside people for a lot of things. But now, concrete that Denver Peak Academy is here and we do facilitate different projects. We're not only just a training and coaching staff, we're there to help and support the people and the citizens of city and county of Denver. So when we look at our, go over to our vision statement.
Okay, sure. Vision statement.
So we did a lot of brainstorming with that as well. As you can see, we were in different groups, group 1, group 2, group 3, and we just spit out everything that we can think of about our vision. We started our vision with saying, this is our old vision, changing the way government operates to improve your experience. That really didn't give us a lot about like the vision that we had. Changing the way government operates to improve your experience. Experience with what? Like it left a lot of open questions when you actually read that vision. So we came together, and again, we're talking about the community because we're focused on a lot of change that's going on where we want to have equitable outcomes. So we threw that in our vision. So it is our vision now is a community of innovators leverage data to drive equitable outcomes where all people can thrive. So our entire city went through the equity training right now. So we have a lot of different teams that's going through it. We want to let everyone know that we believe in the same thing as well. As we teach our equity slide within the city and county of Denver, we highlight some of these things that the city believes in, but are we walking that walk? You talked about the values and why we didn't want to change our core values, because we concrete believe that when we read our values, we're walking in that walk. So we didn't want to change the way we were, but we wanted to change the way people perceive the things that we did for the community and for the city. So most definitely adding that equitable outcome was a huge plus for us, because it's not a lot of diversity going on, and it's not a lot of people that feel like they're included. We also are working on ways that we can make everyone included and not think about how half people can be included. How are we willing people back in? How are we getting everyone back in, and we're not just leaving people out in the open? So our vision clearly states what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and how we're going to provide those services for you when you come through our green belts or even our black belt training.
Nice. Okay, and then you guys also did a vision board before you did the vision, or created the vision statement. And this is just to kind of give you guys some inspiration on what you were hoping for. Anybody want to talk to this?
I will just say, I think you started to see some themes there, right? And so it was like, we really wanted to make sure that those themes showed up in the ultimate vision of, like, you see a lot of that, this whole idea of equity and creating equity, and like systems are what's creating inequity, and systems are what we're changing with processes. So like, it just makes sense, I think, to put the two together. And so you just, and again, like this idea of community, you see a lot of that. So it really, I think, helped us solidify our themes that then needed to be put into words.
It was fun too. And
Yeah, it
it's
was.
so easy to do with Mural, right? You can insert pictures, you can insert, comments or quotes, those kinds of things. So that was a lot of fun. Okay, I don't know if we didn't really assign the values. I'll just show it really quickly, but you guys had values here, 7 values. And you guys, if someone wants to talk about how you developed some of that, but really what we had you guys do is we just said, well, what do you like about this value? What would you change about this value? And what are some examples of living through your values? And what are some opportunities that you guys had? So you guys did do an exercise around the values just to strengthen your commitment. Does anybody want to speak to this a little bit? Values
Jump in
piece.
here. The values, we developed those as a team. That was one of the few, to Megan's point, we didn't always do a great job of focus internally. And that was something that we did do a good job of internally, a retreat a year or two prior with different members of the team at that time. And so we put a lot of intentionality around truly what are our values. And I think that was something that we were living, but it felt really good to put it into words. And so when we went through this activity with you, it was a great opportunity for the new folks to weigh in and be like, does this resonate with you? And we actually really, when we built them out the first time, we built in questions around how do we hire for these values? We want a diverse team because we truly believe that brings a better experience and better insights to the work that we do. And, we believe in equity and all of that. And so we don't want to hire for one type of person, but we want to hire aligned with our values. And so then we brought these new folks on board, and we gave them an opportunity to give feedback, and a lot of them resonated with them. So I think that showed us that we did a good job of hiring for our values and gave an opportunity to get these new perspectives. But to what you were speaking to earlier, it was really nice, I think, to just really get validation. And to your point, you pushed us a little bit and like, this is kind of a lot. And all of them felt so meaningful that it just really grounded us even more, I think, in the values of like, no, these truly are our values. And so you can't have any of them back. We're keeping them. And that really helped inform sort of like moving forward through the rest of the work too.
Yeah.
And I'll just quickly say, for our teammates who told us, months instead of years on the team, our values really drew them to this work and this job. And so we feel so so proud of our values and the great humans that came to us because of them, because we put them in our job postings and said, hey, take a look at these. If they sound good, we want you to come. And so the great team we have assembled here can be tied back to those values that we have.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move now to this section. Wow, there's a lot of work here. So these are the goals, objectives, and metrics. We actually had goals, objectives, tactics, and metrics. You guys had, as you can see, goals 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to let you guys speak to this. That would be Nate, Drew, and AJ. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get us kicked off. So we really love the vision statement we came up with, which again was a community of innovators leverage data to drive equitable outcomes where all people thrive. So the objectives or the goals that we landed on really were all centered around that vision. So what was going to get us to our vision? And I just really like that method of how to choose a goal. It makes perfect sense when you think about it. We just didn't realize it before, but really tying goals to the vision just makes a ton of sense, and it helped us come up with some really great goals. So we put a bunch of stickies on the board or on the mural, and ultimately came up with 3 goals. The first one was build a culture where the city can embrace change and use data to track success. So that drives, or ties right back to our vision, which is we want to build this community. We want to leverage data. We want people to thrive. So that matched up very well with our vision. And the objectives that came out of that were, we came up with 2 objectives for each of these 3 goals. The first one was continue to build problem solving and data skills with green belt and black belt training. So again, that, we had the goal that came straight from the vision, and then we had our objectives that really are, that was our goal for our goal, essentially. And then the second objective was show Peak's customer or accomplishments through celebrating our customers. And that was one way we found that we can continue to drive that culture by really celebrating our customers. And Nate will talk to you more about how we decide we're going to do that. So for goal number 2, we landed on build a culture of collaboration where people are equipped to reach across silos to implement citywide solutions. And this is something we have seen as a gap for a long time, but it is so crucial for our work. It works really well when people do it. So we really wanted to find a way to encourage that collaboration across departments. 9 times out of 10, when we find an issue, it's because some department wasn't talking to another one. And so this landed straight into our mission and our vision. The objectives we picked here were to intentionally build community between departments via black belts. So using our trainees to really spread our message across the city, and also, celebrate them because they're really, the folks who are making change in our city. And then the second objective for that was create more opportunities for collaboration between agencies. Because again, we want people to do it, but oftentimes we don't know how. So we really came up with some good ways to facilitate that collaboration through the services we offer. And then goal number 3 was be an advocate to help build a culture of equity by utilizing the voice of the customer. And this, we feel very strongly about. The equity is in our book is directly tied to innovation and change. Because when we change, we do not want to go backwards. We want to go forward and help. So the couple objectives we picked under that goal was utilize training to show the importance of leading with the customer experience. And that, we have a module in our black belt training called Voice of the Customer. But we realized, we don't often facilitate that directly. We kind of hope people will think about it when they're making change. But so this is really helping us get centered and being a lot more intentional about actually utilizing the voice of our customers. And then the second objective for that was help teams focus on equity as a foundation for projects. When we think about change and you think about equity at the same time, it's just really amazing. Like, why shouldn't we just include those two things at once? You know, if we're going to change anyway, we might as well make it equitable. So those are our goals and objectives. So Nate is going to show what tactics and metrics we picked for each of those.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. And so, like as you mentioned, like it was a fun process kind of getting into like what each of these objectives would be, like kind of narrowing in on like how do we achieve these goals that we set out for ourselves. And so from a tactics perspective, we asked ourselves like, how do we make this more actionable? What can we do as a peak team in order to accomplish these goals that we set out for ourselves? So for tactics, we really keyed in on like what can we do within the next 1 to 12 months, so within that year span, to really move the needle on these goals. And so after we had the conversation about tactics, we also wanted to figure out how do we make that measurable so we can show that we are actually achieving these goals, we're being successful. We can have conversations if we aren't quite seeing the metrics we want to see. And so by laying this all out, it gave us the opportunity to really figure out like, are the actions we taking really helping us achieve our goals? If not, how do we adapt? So for figuring out the tactics, we looked at one, like what are we currently doing as a peak team that we can make actionable and measurable to tie to these objectives, and also give us a space to really brainstorm like what new tactics we could try out throughout the year in order to help achieve these goals. So for example, for the first goal that we had the objective to continue to build problem solving and data skills with black belt and green belt training. And so we already do trainings every month. So let's make that our tactic. We're going to continue to have green belt and black belt trainings throughout the year. And the metrics that we're going to use to show success for that would be like how many people are we actually filling the classrooms with? We want to make sure that we have full classes so that we're maximizing the impact that we have on a city and just making sure that we get as many people through as possible. And then also how many people are actually successfully completing the training. So folks that like attend the training, they're working on projects, getting innovation forms turned in, how many folks are doing that? And so those are the metrics that we would determine like showed success for that particular objective. The second one, like really looking at like how do we showcase Peak's customers, showcasing their accomplishments, showing their successes. A few of the ones that we really narrowed in on included making sure that the Peak project framework is followed throughout each of our projects. So we're focusing on projects that are really going to hit all of Peak's like big like goals citywide. And also we want to make sure that we are communicating about our projects more through LinkedIn, other media outreach, just trying to spread the word as much as possible. We also wanted to make sure that we showcased successes through the Peak Academy Awards event. So that's actually going to be happening September 8th. So we're super excited about that.
Me too.
Yeah, it's going to be a chance to really like showcase like who all's innovating in the city. Here's all the awesome things that they've done. Let's bring everybody together that's gone through the program.
Yeah.
And so for metrics, we looked at, how do we, like, are we actually having the event? First and foremost, that's like a big priority for us is actually doing the thing. We looked at like how many posts we're having on LinkedIn. So making sure that we're posting consistently every single day. Our goal is to get 90% of the days in the year posted. And I feel like we're right on track to do that. So that's been awesome. And then also just making sure we have quarterly check-ins to make sure that the projects that we're taking on are in alignment with those, that Peak framework that we have, just to make sure that we are choosing projects that are crucial to the success of the team. And so we did that for each of the goals. There's lots of tactics, as you can see. Some of the ones that we narrowed in on included like working with agencies on training. So getting more folks through training from an agency perspective, doing quarterly engagement events, which we just had a really successful one just a few weeks ago, our Peak Amazing Race, which brought a lot of folks in together, breaking down silos, getting them to build that community within the city. And we're hoping to do that on a quarterly basis just to get more people constantly engaging in the program. We have tactics around prioritizing projects that break down silos. So we want to make sure that like we have a certain percentage of projects that are actually having multiple agencies involved, We're getting other departments to talk with one another and really handle some common problems as a group instead of each agency taking those projects on individually. We have more emphasis on collaboration across departments within our training. So we have all these folks in the room together from different agencies. How do we make the most of that? So just making sure that we get as many folks from different agencies in each of our classes as possible to kind of facilitate some of that silo breaking. And then on goal 3, we had a bunch of tactics in regards to really like how do we again like utilize more storytelling to show the importance of leading with the customer experience. So we want to add more examples in our training. We want to have a better, tighter partnership with the Office of Social Equity and Innovation so that we can make sure that we have very strong equity focus in the work that we do. We're creating a voice of customer workshop that we actually just kicked off, getting started on making that. So hopefully we'll be able to bring more
Nate,
folks
I lost
together.
track. Somebody had me look a comment, and now where am I? I'm supposed to do something.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I'm on the goal 3.
Okay. Wow, you moved through that quickly. Okay, sorry about that.
There's
I'm
a
not
lot.
being a very good host. Okay.
No worries. And then just making sure that we add like equity metrics to Salesforce. So that's how we track all of our different projects within the city. So making sure that if we do have an equity focused project, we're noting that, we're keeping track of that, and we can see like how many projects we have on an ongoing basis, have that equity focus. And so you can see like throughout each of these tactics, there are very like specific actions that we can take as a team. And we have metrics tied to each of those actions so we can have those conversations. How are we doing as we progress through it?
Good. Just a question for the group really quick. And, you know, we're going to probably speed it up here in just a moment. But, you know, what do you guys remember what was some of the challenges with this part of it? Anybody remember like, oh, okay, this was the harder for us, and then we kind of worked through it? Anybody want to comment?
I can speak to that a little bit. So we actually, you know, we were really clear on our goals and the objectives actually fell out pretty easily. It was just like, because we were doing so many things, that was the reason why we needed this in the first place, because we're kind of scattered all over the place. So that was just like, it took a lot of brain power to really narrow it down to what is the specific thing that is going to get us to our goal. So I think that, at least for me, was the hardest part of just taking in all of the things we do and trying to prioritize what fits in our strategic plan, what matches with our vision. So that just took a lot of energy to do that.
Good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move now to Kaylee. And we're probably going to have time to cover maybe one of the SWATs for each of the goals. I don't know if you have a preference, Kaylee, of which one you want to cover. But just to give people a highlight, you know, again, after they got clear on goals, we talked about SWOT, like what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for this goal. So you can see there's a lot of work in this section. But I think it's really important to do it that way. They hadn't done it that way before. And they asked great questions. This whole group, because they've done strategic planning, it's like, dang, that was a good question. I hope I have an answer. So, all right. So Kaylee, which one would you cover? What did you want to cover?
We can do goal 1.
Okay.
We're right over there.
Great.
Yeah, so we, as Tracy just said, we did a SWOT per each goal, which I think was really valuable in the sense of focusing in on one specific topic area, because I feel like when people are doing SWOT, sometimes it's more of like a broad statement or a problem, etc. So this really helped us like get into the weeds of it and really think about it critically. And I also think when there was value in silence, in the sense that we silently went and added what we thought our strengths were regarding this goal, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, etc. So like that added a lot of value in terms of getting everything out in the open. So just going through strengths, as you can see, there's like these big words in each box, and these are the themes that we found. So everybody went in, put down what they think a strength would be for this goal, which the first goal is building a culture where the city can embrace change and use data to track success. So for the strengths, we have celebrating training as 2 major themes that came out of everybody's opinions. And then moving towards like weaknesses, our major themes were certification, saturation, and PR. So for example, like public relations, this is something like in the sense that we don't have enough presence on social media. Maybe we don't post enough. We need to like increase our presence so we can increase communication and transparency about our work. Moving down towards threats, this is things that we thought of. So COVID, obviously we didn't have control over that, but that had an impact on this goal. Unsupportive leadership, decreased appetite for training, possibly having less people, sign up for our black belt and green belt trainings. Turnover, that's happening everywhere. Great resignation, inaccessible data, and then lack of team skills and knowledge. So then moving over to opportunities, our major goals or identifications was turnover and expansion, PR again, and then training and expectations. So we found these themes, and then we went in, each of us, and we voted on what we thought was, what we thought was like most important to focus on. And then off of those votes, we found, Tracy, if you go down. Yeah. So this is our SWOT actions based off of those themes that we all voted on. So the first one that had the most votes was PR. So we all believe that that is something that we need to focus on. And then the second one being standardization, and the third one being turnover. So then down here on the sticky notes, these are things that we can do to like mitigate those threats. So we did this for each of the goals. And I think, again, it was just adding a lot of value to us and really kind of giving us a game plan of what we need to do, and thinking about all of the SWOTs for everything down on that like granular level was really valuable. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, great. And then after all that, so I'm just going to expand out on the map now because it's huge. So you've got your vision, your mission, your values, the goals and metrics and SWOT. And then finally, the final output is the timeline. Okay, now what are you going to do with all this stuff? Well, how are you going to make it actionable? And like we're talking in the next 18 months by quarter. And so I'm going to turn it over now to Katie to talk through what you guys did. And you have probably 4 minutes.
I'll be speedy. Yeah, so I think this was the exciting part, really, because it's like we have all these ideas and visions and hopes and plans, and now like, how are we actually going to make that happen? So as you can see, we organize it kind of in these swim lanes per goal. So on the left, we have the goal and then the objectives for each of those goals. And then we looked at our tactics and started populating them onto this timeline. And so Tracy, I think, gave us the really helpful framework of really focus on kind of the first period and put a lot more details in there. And then as you build out, like, don't try to swallow the ocean, essentially. And like some of the other things further down the line, you can get more specific about those as you get there. And that was really helpful, I thought, for giving us some focus to say, we need to know exactly what we're going to be doing for the next 3 months. And we need to know kind of high level what we're doing for the rest of the year, but we can populate the specifics as we go. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to read through all of those specifics, but basically it's our tactics pulled from above, plugged into when we think they should go. And that was also helpful to see it visually like this, to say like, oh, we plugged a lot in quarter one. Maybe we need to kick that over and like really set ourselves up for success and not try to do too much because we're excited, but then not actually be able to achieve all of it. And I see Michelle asked what's below goal 3. So Tracy scrolled down, and that's our roadmap check-ins to make sure, because there's this element of also when are we going to plan for the next quarter, and when are we going to review what we've already done. And we actually translated all of this into a spreadsheet so that we can add more specifics. So some of those SWOT items that Kaylee talked about, those showed up in there. We built in these check-ins, and then that's where we also baked out who's responsible for what's our progress on it, and have like a tracking percentage on there to say like, yep, we're on track. Oh, we've done a little bit on this, but not as much as we need to, or it's in the works or what have you. So but visualizing it in this way was really helpful before we moved to the less visually appealing spreadsheet.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, this is great. The mural was great for the brainstorming and the brain work. But then I was telling them at some point you guys are going to want to move to something more organized. It's easier to maneuver. And then they decided, they picked the time. They're like, yep, this is the time. And then they built it. And so I know we're running out of time, but I know that we've got at least one thing to show. I don't know, Katie, do you want to share the spreadsheet, or do we want to have Megan just go in and share the final product?
I'd say let's share the final product. I'm happy to, if anyone has questions about the spreadsheet, happy to share that later, but I think the final product is cool. So let's
Okay,
share that.
good. All right, Megan, and hi, Ben, you made it. Okay, Megan, are you okay with sharing the final product of what you guys
Yeah.
did with it? They didn't even show it to me until just before this webinar, and I think it's amazing. They don't
Okay,
have to
let me-
show me everything. You know, they're off and running.
So this is, and I will shout out to Kaylee because she is a continuous improvement specialist / graphic designer on our team.
City budget.
No budget. That's right. We used all our budget on Tracy. We don't have any budget for graphic design. So yeah, so you can see here we have our mission, our vision, and our goals, and then the goals are color coded because you'll see them again in a minute. Then we have our values here, all of our values, the many, and then goal 1. You can see the objectives and the measures that are going into each of the objectives. We didn't
Wow.
get down to the level of tactics.
That's beautiful.
On there.
at
So
that.
that's it.
Somebody wants a copy.
Oh yeah, you're welcome to have it. You know, Peak, nothing we have is proprietary ever. So
Yes.
happy to share.
Okay. Well, we should have probably scheduled another half hour, but what I'll do is I have all these other questions I was going to ask you guys, but I'm just going to throw it out there and say, do you have any comments about this work that you want to share? Anybody want to say, as a final comment from you about this work, anything? A few people I'd love to hear a few people.
I can
Yes.
start.
Okay. And then we'll go to AJ and then Ben.
I was just going to say this work was very beneficial and helped us be more intentional in how we approach our jobs, and getting us that self-care aspect, right? We do a lot of services for the city, but we can't talk the talk and then not do things on our end. So just taking care of what we need to take care of on our side. I would also say for anyone who wants to approach this work with your team, it'd be good to note that things are going to happen differently in every situation. So don't always expect to go through everything in order, like goals, objectives, tactics, objectives. I was doing this work with another agency. It did not go that way. And you just have to understand you can be very flexible with these things. And your goals, objectives, tactics, and metrics are not 30-year fixed interest rates. You're not locked in the whole time. You're flexible. If it's not working, you can switch out your objectives. So don't be afraid to set your objectives and your goals because they're only temporary and then they can cycle out. So I would just say, keep that in mind.
Mhm.
Awesome, AJ. Ben, and then who wants to speak after Ben? If we have time. Maybe one more. Okay, Ben, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I'll see a little bit of a piggyback off of AJ now and what Katie was talking about in the chat. That while the metrics are really needed, you need to know what you're going to be following and what you want to improve. But with these, it was very difficult. It was hard to do strategic work. I cannot say that I was super stoked every time it was on the calendar because I knew it was going to be a lot of work. But it was all worth it, and I'm just want to say that it's a lot of work, but you got to do it. You're gonna
Yes.
be much better off for doing it.
And I think as some of the folks have mentioned, our team was kind of like half folks who had been here and half new folks. And so I think this was a really great team building thing as well of like everybody's voice got to be in it and everybody got to move it forward together and decide it together. And I just think that means we all feel a little more attached to it than if you do a strategic planning process and you don't have everyone involved. I don't know if you would get that same buy-in is a bad term because I don't feel like it's like we're tricking anyone, into being into this. It's like I think we all feel really, really tied to it and compelled to move it forward.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure working with you all. We are out of time, unfortunately. Bummer. There are some amazing comments about you guys in the chat. I want to make sure you see them before. So Michelle was saying she's been a major fan of DPA for years. Great work on yourselves. This is phenomenal. You've inspired me once again. And then Alyssa said, this is just as inspirational and awesome as the last time I heard about DPA. You're all an incredible team and your passion and energy are contagious. So awesome.
That's so
Great
nice.
work as always, Peak Friends and Tracy from Lola. Really awesome. And really good work, everyone. So Kaylee put in her email. She could send you a copy. Send me one too. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you, everybody on the Denver Peak Academy. It was so awesome to see you again. And, you know, like I said, I still might be coming to Denver in October, so I'll be looking you up. Because I haven't met these people in person. Okay.
We want you to come.
Okay.
Come now.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.